Superintendent, do you get the feeling that what exists is adequate in respect of the punishment for those who will steal electricity?
No. Definitely, the issue of obstructing electricity is a concern for us as the police within the St. Andrew South Division. Quite a number of the communities, we believe that obstructing electricity is a pervasive problem. These communities are characterized by high levels of violence and gang type activities. And as such, you know, any type of crime and disorder only tends to make it a more conducive or, you know, environment for continuation in the level of violence. So it's somewhat difficult for us to deal with this particular issue because of the current legislation that is available. It mostly depends on the cooperation of the JPS to address some of the incidents of obstructing the electricity. And then the volume of the problem. You have communities where probably upwards of 50% persons in the communities are obstructing electricity from the grid. So for the most part, you will not necessarily see police officers arresting persons as often as we want to. From time to time, we try to get the cooperation and the assistance of the JPS on special operations where we can make an impact in particular communities. But then again, that is going to be dependent on the JPS willingness and availability for the loss enforcement teams.
Well, help us to understand the role of the JPS in this process then, Superintendent Ricketts.
Okay, so we are guided by really two legislations in dealing with obstructing electricity. We are guided by the Larceny Act and the Public Utilities Protection Act. Those two legislations, you know, have some requirements. For instance, in terms of the Larceny Act, it section 15 makes it the provision for obstructing electricity is an offense. Now, the problem with this particular act is that it requires some kind of technical you know, support from the JPS. For instance, the police officer is not competent enough as per law to indicate that the premises is being the consumption is being made of the JPS utility. Right. So we definitely need some kind of initiation from the JPS in this regard for us to fulfill the provisions under this particular legislation. We need the JPS to indicate that this person is obstructing from us and to give us a statement. The other legislation, the Public Utilities Protection Act, on paper doesn't demand that the JPS plays such a pivotal role. This now has to do with trespassing on the public utilities. Yes. The problem, however, is that my men, as we go before the courts, have indicated over the period, over time, that our judges are somewhat, unwilling to proceed without, again, the JPS being involved. For whatever reason, I suspect the JPS could be from time to time overwhelmed with the volume, and they might have other priorities, mind you. So are they able to work with us on a daily basis? Are they able to come with us on all the operations? I suspect not. But their input is obvious in us addressing this matter from the two legislation that we spoke about.
Well, here's a question coming in for you, Dr. Wheatley, and there's also one for Dr. Brownberg from Kimon Francis. She says that she'd like you both to speak on the issue as legislators to strengthen the laws to properly punish electricity thieves. There is a belief that politicians are not doing more in this department because this is likely to interfere with potential votes. That is the issue of adequate legislation to properly punish electricity thieves. What's your take on it, Dr. Wheatley, since you're on the floor?
Well, I don't know where Kimon got her information from as relates to legislators, not politicians not supporting the enforcement of laws as relates to illegal extraction. And as I stated earlier, I can only speak for myself. And you can go in my constituency and check that my constituents know for a fact that I'm not in support of that, right? And whatever it takes, if it's legislation, then we need to put in legislation. I believe legislation is not the problem. I think we need proper enforcement. Proper enforcement is what is needed.
Dr. Brownberg, what's your take on this?
I believe it's a mix of issues or remedies that would be required. And again, I speak on my own behalf by saying that I've never supported extraction, illegal extraction of electricity at all. And I've been on record for that. I was mayor before, and I mean, these were issues that we were dealing with. So that is very clear. I do believe, however, that where we need to have on the books legislation that punishes individuals who are stealing electricity, I think as a government, we also need to make sure that we provide a framework in which all of our people can actually access electricity. We therefore need to talk about the price at which it is, affordability. We also need to talk about, and I go back to that, the inequitable society that we have and what that has meant for years, for generations, to individuals who live in some communities. We can't absolve ourselves of that either. And so we have to deal with all of those issues.
Well, let's hear from Superintendent Ricketts on this. Superintendent, do you get the feeling that what exists is adequate in respect of the punishment for those who will steal electricity?
No. As I said, first we need to be able to arrest and charge persons, and that in itself has posed a challenge for the police. I indicated when I first started that we are depending on the collaboration with the utility company in order to do this. The outcome of the courts is another matter. Whether or not the penalty will disincentivize persons from continuing to abstract from the utility grid is another discussion. But my simple answer is no.